We live, baby.
Hello, Sharks fans! I'm excited to kind of host this draft party today with my friend Brian here. We got going on the live. Say hello, Brian.
What's good?
Yep, Sharks fans. We got a banger for you. So go ahead and take a peek at the intro, and then we look forward to giving you some great content here shortly. All right, so we got some big news throughout the week, throughout the last couple weeks, I should say, Brian. And I don't know what you got cooking up, but let's see what the host has to ask of me.
This guy. Yeah, we're doing good. A bunch of stuff been going on in the news. Let's start with the introductory kind of press conference from the new coach, Ryan. You say Warsofsky? Is that how you say it?
Warsofsky, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought the press conference was super good. You know, you kind of want all those, all those points that he touched on throughout the press conference. He did a great job. I think Ryan Warsofsky is, one of those coaches that he's going to demand a lot from his players, but he's also going to be a player's coach. And I think with that, I just think the Sharks need that with a young group, young core coming up. And it's just going to be a great, meshing point, because obviously Warsofsky is the youngest coach in the NHL right now. And he's going to have one of the youngest teams in the NHL coming through. So I think it's just an amazing, fit for the Sharks at this point. And a lot of people are like, oh, this might be, somebody that's just going to come in, fit right away, but then like have a good coach when we hit the playoffs. No, I think this guy can be the coach of the future as well. And there's gonna be some growing pains along the way for both players and coaches, within this first season. But I just think that he's gonna hit the ground running, and it's gonna be an amazing fit. And Brian, we talked about this last live, where this guy is, his X's and O's are, are really good. He's come from a long lineage of great head coaches that are actually in the NHL right now. And Spencer Carberry is one to mention, where he got his tutelage from him. So, just an amazing hire by Mike Greer, and I'm looking forward to it. Oh, yeah, and then one other point, sorry to cut you off, is that he was super emotional in that press conference. And I think I actually like to see that from him, because it just means that he cares a lot. Obviously, you get a new coach, and one of those coaches that is new, you kind of want to see that emotion and that desire, and you can totally see it coming in droves from this coach, and I'm excited to see that.
Perfect. Yeah, and I mean, on that, like, I know there's a variety of, for those who didn't see the press conference, or just to give your kind of overall summary of it, like, in addition to like what you felt from him and his like energy and stuff, what were some either specific topics that were brought up, that were specific answers he gave that you thought were interesting? And then from there, we'll go into, I know there's been like talks about a potential Logan Couture trade, and I know that's more of like Mike Greer responding to that, but kind of give us an overview of kind of what was talked about, both from the coach's side and then from the GM side.
Yeah, I think he didn't get into detail of his systems and things of that nature. But he really just kind of outlined his upbringing to the NHL, which I thought was interesting. Obviously, he's won everywhere he's gone, and that was such a big talking point with or in this hire. And I just love that. So it was really just revolved around him and his upbringing and where he was, where he's came from to
Mhm.
kind of shape and mold him and who he is as an NHL coach. So that was the biggest takeaway from this whole press conference, and knowing where he comes from, knowing his upbringing, knowing his NHL pedigree, knowing his AHL pedigree, knowing his where he came from in the ECHL, he's worked his way up, so to speak. And people that come from the ECHL, they don't have it easy. They basically, he was saying that he was scheduling flights, he was making sure all the equipment got on the bus. The little things that a coach you wouldn't think does, but he did it, and he's lived it basically. Obviously, he probably won't do that as much in the NHL. That's why you got equipment
Yeah.
guys and all that stuff. But just really cool story, and I'm excited. He's only 36 years old, so it's one of those where, he has a he has a lot of knowledge to bring to these players, even at that young age, from all the from where he's come from. So I just am excited, and that's kind of the takeaways. But going along with the Logan Couture news, obviously that was been floated around, and many Sharks fans were wondering if Logan Couture would get traded. Well, Mike Greer at the end of the press conference really just let it be known that they are not trading Logan Couture. He is there to stay, and he has 3 years remaining on his deal. And he's just one of those, people that Mike Greer wants in the organization, even if he is on the decline, or maybe injured or injury prone moving forward. But the guy can still play, as we all seen in the 10 games that he played last year. He was himself, but it looked like he just re-aggravated his growing injury, and hopefully he's all set for the new season coming up, and hopefully Logan Couture can get back on track and not have any setbacks.
Perfect. Well, I hope so too. I mean, do you take Mike Greer at his word that he wants to keep him around, or do you think that's also a potential of him trying to pump up his trade value instead of making it seem like he just wants to get rid of him?
Yeah, I think he really wants to keep him. Obviously, we have a young core, young group with the Sharks team. We need some veterans to really show these kids the way. And I feel like Mike Greer really is like, hey, this is the guy that I want to build around, or my team around, because he's a proven winner. We've won a lot with Logan Couture. Obviously, the past couple of years while Logan Couture was captain, it hasn't been great. But the reason for that is because the team just hasn't been good enough around Logan Couture. So I'm excited to move on, and I'm actually glad Mike Greer was able to come out and say, hey, we're keeping him. He's going to be the guy that we're going to, not build around, because obviously he's in his later years now, but at least build around in terms of he's going to show these kids the way. So I don't think that there's any trades moving forward with him.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's always interesting because, obviously they traded a lot of people over the last couple of years. It's always I always wonder how much is based off of fit and liking of that player is why you keep them, or sometimes it has to do with the contract situation. Hey,
True.
depending where the contract's at. Like I could trade him, but the value's not as good, and it's probably more valuable just keeping versus if somebody's it has a higher desire with another team, whether they're younger or they don't have as longer of a contract or whatever. So
I agree.
But yeah, well, I know. Speaking of moves, they've made a lot of moves over the last couple weeks, or at least since we talked last. I know that a lot of them have been trades, but maybe for simplicity, let's start with there's this guy. Is it Barclay Goodrow that they
Yep.
picked up off waivers?
Yep.
Can you give us kind of like an overview of him and like where he's going to fit on the team, cap, long term, short term?
Yeah.
Give us the rundown.
Yeah.
And
So
why they picked him up based like as obviously there's different situations where you're either trading or they're a free agent or they become free off waivers because somebody just released them or whatever. So you got
exactly. So Barclay Goodrow, a lot of people were saying, why did we, take on $3.6 million of cap and claim him off of waivers from the Rangers for virtually nothing in return so far, at least. It's not said if there was a side deal or anything like that. So there might be a trade to come, but as of now, we are not basically getting anything in return so far. But Barclay Goodrow is one of those players that is a proven winner. He, does all the little things for a hockey player that just wins games, chips pucks out, gets pucks deep, knows how to play the game the right way, throws his body around. He's not the biggest scorer anymore. He is like, I want to say he's like 34 years old or so. So he's getting like up there in age and maybe he's not as quick anymore, but from all the scouts that are saying he still has that competitive edge. He still can skate, maybe not like he once did in his 20s, but he really gets after it on the forecheck. And that's what the Sharks needed to either get on that third or fourth line. I know a lot of people are saying he's a fourth line guy on a good team. He might play the third line this year with all the acquisitions we made. I think he's going to be bouncing between the third and fourth lines, dependent on how Warsofsky, views, Ty Dellandrea and a few of those other names like Carl Gunstrom that we got in a trade. And we'll go ahead and touch on that a little bit later. But it's going to be interesting how Warsaw uses him. But just an all-around, he's a good fit. Obviously, we took on a ton of cap for a third, fourth line player. It's not the greatest look, but we needed a winner in the locker room, and he's done he's almost been winning all the time in the last 3 to 4 years. So he's gone to 2 cups, won 2 cups with Tampa Bay, made it to the conference finals, and just proven winner. So I don't necessarily love this deal just because of the cap hit, but I love the player. And even though he's not scoring a ton, he does the little things. And that's more so what we need on this Sharks team because we have some young guys coming up that can put the puck in the net. So I'm really not too worried about the scoring at this point because this year might be a bad year, but we will moving forward have some guys that put the puck in the net. So and the third, fourth line, it's fine.
Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta spend money to build that team back up.
Yeah, and a great point is so you have to spend money, right? I think with the Sharks needed to get to the cap floor, and we were still like $5 million under that, and that 3.6. Now we're like 2 million under the floor. And with all these trades, I'm sure that we probably just hit the cap floor. But I haven't looked into the where we're at exactly after all the trades in the cap. But we needed to spend money, and we decided to claim somebody at 3.6 million that is a third, fourth line player that wins. So I'm not too mad about it, but I thought that was probably Greer's weakest move to date.
So weak.
Even though it was still good. So
yeah, if your weakest move is still good, then you're good.
Exactly.
All right, well then let's roll into the trades. Let's go, I guess, in order. So first we had the trade for Ty Dellandrea.
Yeah, so Ty
break it
Dellandrea.
down for me.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to bring up Ty Dellandrea here. Let's see. How do we do this? All right. So with Ty Dellandrea,
I think you can make it. I think you can make it even bigger to where we're just tiny on the side.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So Ty Dellandrea, as of June 19th, we traded a 2025 fourth round pick for Ty Dellandrea. And we got his signing rights. So, this player is going to be this guy's going to be on the third, fourth line as well, just like Barclay Goodrow. If not on the same line as Barclay Goodrow. And I think Ty Dellandrea is just one of those players that is a forechecking menace. He plays the PK very well, meaning, on the penalty kill, he gets his stick in lanes, passing lanes and things of that nature. He's a hard worker. And what did Mike Grier say throughout his tenure of getting hired as GM? His motto was, we need to get bigger, faster, stronger, and more physical. And that's what you get with this guy. So I just think that this trade for a fourth round pick, who, that fourth round pick most likely won't even amount to anything. It could, but it's very rare, right? And now you get a Ty Dellandrea who's going to be on that third, fourth line that is, a glue guy. Maybe not score as much as what people think, just like Barclay Goodrow, but you're going to stick him in, and he does have skill. And so I'm hoping to see that, if he can play third line minutes, what can he do with the puck? What can he do off the puck? And I just, from knowing him on Dallas, he was a forechecking menace as well, and he's a PK guy as well. So we're really strong in the PK section, and we're really strong on that third, fourth line. So good trade by Grier. I think I'd give that a B.
Perfect. All right, so now we're moving up. This is kind of nice to have up here too. So was it Igor? I'm not even gonna
say. These hockey names are really hard, dude. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And he's Russian, but Igor Afanasyev. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so
give me that breakdown.
So we traded Ozzy Weisblatt for Igor Afanasyev. Ozzy Weisblatt was a former first round pick that went viral with Doug Wilson Jr. picking him with the sign language because Ozzy Weisblatt's mom is deaf, and it was a really touching NHL draft because Doug Wilson did that gesture for Ozzy Weisblatt's mom, because I think in any situation, getting to the draft, like what's coming up, signing to his mom that he basically signed that he was their first round pick to Ozzy Weisblatt's mom. And I just thought it was an amazing gesture, and it's just an amazing NHL draft story. But here with this trade, we actually traded him, and I think he might have played one NHL game, but never really amounted to anything. He's going to be like a fourth line player, maybe on the Preds at one point or another, but I honestly think he's a career AHL guy. And I know that the Sharks felt that way, or else they wouldn't have traded him, because we're already now we have too many of those guys on our team as we speak. So getting rid of Ozzy Weisblatt, I think was the right move for the Sharks. And getting Igor Afanasyev, I think Sharks fans are going to love this guy. He was the leading scorer of the Nashville Predators AHL team last year. So we got a guy that scored 27 goals and like 20 something assists last year, totaling almost 50 points last season. So I'm super excited to see what this guy can do. I'm assuming that he starts in the Barracuda on the top line. But for Sharks fans, I think that you might see him next year, if there's any injuries to, the top players on the Sharks, he might be the first call up. So I think you'll see him in the NHL next year. But he's going to start out with the Barracuda. So great trade. I think this was an A- trade. Just great.
So I'm always curious in those types of trades because obviously, like both players are kind of like fringe fourth liners or first liners on their minor league teams. But like, obviously, you think between the two, this guy is a better fit for the Sharks. Like, what's the Predators' incentive of trading this? Do they feel the same way that this Ozzy Weisblatt guy is a better fit for their system, or like what's their incentive if, in your opinion, this other guy is a lot better?
So Ozzy Weisblatt brings like a lunch pail mentality. He's a smaller guy, but he brings it every shift. The thing is he doesn't do a lot of scoring, and he's mainly going to be like a fourth line role player. But maybe Nashville's looking at this and saying, "Hey, we need that type of player on our team," rather than say Igor, where he's more of a scorer. He's more of like a middle six kind of guy, like a second, third line guy. And maybe the Predators have too many of those. I'm not 100% sure on why the Predators do this, but I think the Sharks just won out completely in this deal. I know that, Ozzy was a former first round pick, which has a lot of merit, but his play hasn't been that. So maybe the scouts with the Predators just messed up. I have no idea. I just think the Sharks just stole Igor. And maybe it was that Igor Afanasyev asked for a trade because he wasn't getting the call up. I'm not sure. It could have been a bevy of different answers, but the Sharks went out on this trade big time, and he could be a middle six kind of guy, maybe, meaning that a second, third line player on the Sharks, even as close as this year. But look for him to maybe play in next year when a lot of Sharks players get their contracts up. So we'll see.
Yeah. Right on. Well, yeah, let's just keep on moving up. I know this next one, Jake Wallman, this one was more of it's almost like they got a second round pick and a player just to take on this, relatively overpaid player that's going to take a huge cap hit. Right?
Yep, exactly. So the Sharks traded for Jake Wallman and got a second round pick in this year's draft number 53 for future considerations, meaning that the Sharks have to trade somebody. That's the new NHL rule. We just don't know what it is, but I'm assuming that it's pretty much going to be like a guy that won't ever step foot in the NHL, and probably not even be an AHL guy that's worth anything. So we basically took on $3.4 million in cap hit, and we got a second round pick and Jake Wallman. This is definitely an A move by Mike Greer. And a lot of people were rumbling in Detroit saying, I don't know why Steve Yzerman, who's the GM of the Detroit Red Wings, would ever do this. Apparently there was other teams that, like, after this deal got done, said like, hey, you wouldn't even have to give up a second round pick. We would have just traded Wallman for like a 7th rounder kind of thing.
Like we'll
From
just
everything
take
that I
them,
was
and if we
hearing.
have to offset it with a random pick and a random future consideration,
Exactly.
that's crazy that they gave such a high pick at
I
53
was
overall.
I was ecstatic, man. This made it where as we move up in the trades or the next one, it kind of like ties into the next one where we traded, one of our 2nd round picks to move up in the draft. This allowed that to happen, basically.
Yeah. So before we get into that, give me the pros and cons of this player.
Yeah. So Jake Wallman he has huge upside on the offensive end. He's going to be your power play leader for the Sharks. And he jumps up in the play when the time is needed. He's actually he's a good defender. He's not like a great defender, but on this, the Sharks needed some offense in there and a power play guy that can shoot the puck from the point, and this guy provides that. And I'm excited to see what he can do in terms of putting up points for the Sharks, and especially on that power play. I'm excited. I haven't really seen his defensive game, but according to all the Detroit Red Wings fans, he actually played shutdown defensive minutes for the Detroit Red Wings. He was in their top 4 on a decent team. So he played against, all the top guys on other teams. And he's going to do that again with the Sharks, but probably in a first line defensive role. And this definitely was a steal of a trade for the Sharks. And I would give this
steal of a deal.
A+.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, let's roll that into it. So now that they have this extra 2nd round pick, originally they were going to be picking at 33 and 42, but then since they got 53, they decided, you know what, let's take that 42 that we have and see if we can move up in the 1st round, which they did.
That's exactly it. So this number 42 was a part of the Timo Meier trade, I believe. It's either Timo Meier or Erik Karlsson. I can't remember exactly. It was one of those trades. I think, yeah, New Jersey. Sorry. So at 42 was part of the Timo Meier trade where we got this high 2nd round pick, number 10 overall in the 2nd round. So number 42 actually, and we traded our 14th and 42 for number 11. Basically, we move up 3 spots and traded a 2nd round pick for it. So. I thought it was a high price to pay to only move up 3 spots. And, but this allows for the Sharks to go after either Cole Yzerman or that defenseman that drops, whether it's, Perek, Bouillon, Yakimchuk, one of those 3, or Sam Dickinson, one of those 3 or 4 defensemen will be available. And the Sharks will have an interesting decision to make on who to go for if all those players are one of those players are available. And we'll go ahead and get into my thoughts on all that in the draft section. But just one of I think I would give this a C move. Just because of how much we had to give up to move up 3 spots, but it could be an A if we get, one of the defensemen like Dickinson, Bouillon, or Perek. If we could get one of those guys, that's a home run. If we get Yakimchuk, then, I'm okay with it. I think it's a C+ move, but Yakimchuk is going to take a long time to develop. Anyways, we'll get into that later. But yeah.
Well, let's at least just talk about like the transaction itself. So it's like, obviously there's pros and cons of each, but would you have rather them not made a move, wait till they're live in the draft, see who's available, who falls, and see if they can pull off a trade? Or are you kind of okay with that? Do you think it's better to overpay a little bit, play it safe, know exactly what you have going into the draft, and versus like trying to do some scramble move when somebody's on the clock?
I would have liked to see it happen, to see like where the chips were falling. If one of those D were falling, I would have liked to see the Sharks do it in that respect. But since they did it so early, um, you know, it just puts it in a tougher situation, I guess. And even though I like the move up, and it gives you that one defenseman that's available, that's what makes me feel like it's going to be 100% a demon. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go Cole Eiserman here. But either way, it's either Yakimchuk or Iserman. But if Dickinson, Perek, or the other guy fall, they get him. But yeah, I would have waited myself to when the draft starts and see how it falls. So it happened, and we'll see what plays out. But I'd be interested to hear Greer's comments after the draft, because to see if that player that he actually takes is the actual player that he wanted. But I'm assuming he would say that no matter what, whoever he drafts is the guy that they wanted and fell to them. It's just a little strange this early.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather them do it in the moment. Like, obviously, switching teams. I'll never forget. Like, I remember we were in Hawaii on vacation, and the Niners traded up to number 3 overall like a month before the draft, which eventually turned into Trey Lance. And we were like stoked because we're like, oh, we're getting a new quarterback. But in reality, like, not just because of how it turned out with Trey Lance, but it just seemed like they would have been better off just hanging out and seeing how the draft played out, because the quarterbacks would have fallen. Like, I think in that same draft, the Bears traded up a few spots to get Justin Fields, but they gave up like 1 second-round pick, where we gave up 3 firsts and a third, and just obviously it didn't pan out. And it's like, when you look back on it, like, not only could we have given up a second and traded up for like a Justin Fields, we could have stayed put at a Mac Jones, or even I think at the pick that we actually had, like Micah Parsons was drafted or whatever. It's just like so many things could have panned out. The only benefit was like they were able to actually do a more in-depth like interview and training process. Like, I think they were able to like say, hey, Trey Lance, go run our system at this like draft combine thing. But I feel like that was the only benefit of doing it a month and a half in advance versus just waiting till the day of.
Agree 100%. Obviously, thank God the Sharks didn't, give up that much. But obviously the Niners, they moved up a lot higher. But I mean, 3 picks. I mean, if it was a fair trade, it would have been that we get up to number 9, but I'm assuming to the number 9 team didn't want to make the trade, and I'm sure he went to number 10 team, and I'm sure he asked them, but then 11 was like, hey, we'll do that deal, and that's why Mike Grier pulls the trigger. And who knows what the negotiations were, right? Like, maybe that team said, hey, you either do this now or never, kind of thing. It could have been. And, we never know, and we'll never get those details, but that's what I would have assumed on why it happened so early. And so, it's just my take on maybe the reasoning behind it all.
Yeah, and I know from a point of valuation, you're saying that 42 and 14 is worth the 9 or the 10. Were you saying also, like, technically for this 11, we should have been able to give up that number 53 and the 14, and it would have still pointed out, but we had to kind of like give a little bit high, 10 picks higher or whatever, just to kind of sweeten the deal and overpay?
Exactly. So how it works is that number 14 and 53 would have been the fair trade, but we had to overpay with that 42nd pick to make that, like you said, that sweetener. And that's the reasoning why I think Buffalo makes the trade, because it was just, I would say, a home run deal for them. and good for them. They got it, but I think the Sharks, probably get one of those D men that they covet. So
if they were to pull it off with the 53 and the 14 versus the 42 and the 14, would you have given this more of an A or a B plus?
yeah, at least a B, because it just made like sense for both teams. But in the NHL, whenever you trade up in the first round, it has to be like a blow your socks off kind of offer. Especially when you get into like near the top 10 areas. And 11 is right there, obviously. So I knew in this draft that there was like 13 top end players, and I think 14 you see a little bit of a drop off where the Sharks were going to pick. And so I think, that's another reasoning of a bigger sweetener. So that's kind of where sure it stands with that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we'll get more into the picks in the draft later, but let's just go over this last trade on this slide. We got, excuse me, Carl Grundstrom and Kyle
Burrows and Carl Grundstrom.
Yeah.
Hockey names, dude. So
yeah, Wilson's at.
Yeah, right. So I think this was a great move by Mike Grier. Obviously, the Sharks still have to sign Carl Grundstrom. He's on his RFA deal, meaning I think his like RFA is 1.6 million, which is higher than the 1.1 million of Kyle Burrows. But Kyle Burrows, we already had like 9 defensemen. Like we needed to get rid of one of these guys, and Kyle Burrows, is one of those contracts that is easily offloaded, and he has 2 more years on that $1.1 million deal. So, now the Kings will have that deal, and we'll have Carl Grundstrom for 1.6. So basically we take on $500K in salary cap, but we get a forward that's on a third to fourth line guy. And, he came from the LA Kings, which is, a good team, a good playoff team. So we're getting more playoff depth, basically, so to speak. And he didn't do like a ton of scoring, but he does have the ability to score. So he's more of that physical presence, like Ty Dellandrea. He has offensive upside, but it's more that physicality. It's that grinded out kind of game where we're getting another one of those guys. And Mike Grier said he wanted to be harder to play against. This is another hard guy to play against. And, our third, fourth line is going to be grinding the other teams, man. They're going to forward check with the best of them. We're going to have a good penalty kill next year. And, maybe our scoring will be a little low, but who knows? These guys might be able to surprise, a lot of people. And with that extra playing time that they might get with through Warsofsky and just playing higher up in the lineup than, say, the Kings and the Predators and some of these the Dallas Stars, like these guys will get third, fourth line minutes, but they're going to get more playing time than, say, the Dallas Stars gave them or the LA Kings gave them. So we'll see what they can provide for the Sharks team. And I just think that you're going to get that physicality that the Sharks absolutely needed to get, and they get it in droves with these trades. So what another good trade by Mike Grier. And, just another, I would say this is a B move, but has the potential to be better than that. And I don't see where Mike Grier loses out in any way, shape, or form in this trade. So love what Mike Grier's doing in the trade markets. And, this is one of those things where we were all wondering what Mike Grier would do this year, and he's pulled the trigger on a lot of trades here, a lot of, acquisitions from the 19th to the 27th. We're talking like a week and a half of just moves galore, and I love it.
Yeah, now it seems like most you'd give a B or an A outside of well, I
The
guess
Goodrow.
this yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
the
yeah,
only like C move, and I still like Goodrow. He's gonna bring that winning mentality to the Sharks, and it looks like we got a lot of. So here's the thing: Mike Greer went out and got a guy from Dallas who made the Western Conference Finals, and Ty Dellandrea. He went out and got Jake Wallman, who was on the fringe making the playoffs and was a top 4 guy. And then he goes out and get Carl Gunstrom, who made the playoffs. And, he's getting these guys with physicality, compete, and just winners. And Barclay Goodrow, who made the Western Conference Finals again, or Eastern Conference Finals. So, like, just winning hockey players and hard nosed players, and that's what Mike Greer was setting out to do, and he did it, and I love it. Maybe not the most skilled players, but here's the thing: Mike Greer does not need skilled players. He's got in the pipeline Casper Haltonen, Luca Cagnoni, Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, this new number 14th overall selection, David Edstrom, Philip Beested. Like, these guys have skill coming up. And we don't need skill. We need players that are physical and can show the ropes to these other guys. And I think this is going to be an amazing time for Sharks hockey, where they're super, super competitive. And we know last year it was non-competitive for most nights. And the guys that he's bringing in bring that compete level. And that's all you can ask for. Give me a chance. Tell me there's a chance.
So wait, they got Celebrini? I thought they were going to take a goalie with the first overall.
Well, we do need a goalie this draft, so look for the Sharks to do that. We'll get into that section. Dude. Yeah.
Let's go best available goalie, first overall.
Come on, we were slacking for Macklin the whole year, man. We need him.
All right, I'll be cool with taking Macklin. Well, on that note, let's transition into draft time. First of all, tell the fans, what are you doing today?
Today is the 2024 NHL draft party at the Tank. So I'm super excited, Sharks fans, that I will be attending that Sharks draft party with all the 12,000 to 16,000 fans that should be in attendance. And, it's starting at 4 p.m., but I think they're opening the doors at 3, and people are going to get there at like 2 because there's going to be festivities outside the arena and also inside. So I'm looking forward to, joining all of you guys there. And super excited, man. This is going to be a draft for the ages for the Sharks. And this is going to be, that time for Sharks fans to, see the next generation of great players that are going to be knocking on the door here pretty shortly.
So there's going to be hundreds of fans there that want to meet you, your fans, I'm saying. Will you be rocking? Well, how can they find you? Will you be wearing that jersey and that hat?
I'll be repping my jersey. It's not a Sharks jersey, but I just think that, repping the Sharks. And I got this at a Barracuda game, and I love it. So I'm going to be wearing this today. So find me. I wish I had some Hello Sharks fans merch, man. That would be pretty fire.
Coming soon.
Should be if we get enough following, we'll be able to create that. So
fans, we need your support. enough love in here to get some merch.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into the draft.
Yes, sir.
Just in case they don't pick a goalie first overall, what do you think this first overall pick's going to be? And I know we've talked about this, but give us a Celebrini summary, baby. Let's go.
Come on, let's go. So obviously, there's no, Mike Greer has come out and stated Macklin. Even in Warsofsky's press conference, he said Macklin Celebrini's name. So we all know who the Sharks are going to be going with at number 1. And it's a no-doubter in Macklin Celebrini. And this kid is electric. I mean, you say do-it-all type of player, has all the tools to be a winning hockey player. He can shoot the puck. He can skate. He can play off the puck, meaning he plays a 200-foot game, which also means he plays defense and offense. And when the other team has the puck, he's on his horse to go get it back. And, you know, he doesn't just play offense, where most of these, you know, I want to say most of these kids coming out of, you know, the NCAA or WHL or OHL, they all think offense. Macklin Celebrini does it all. He plays that defensive game. He gets his stick on pucks and he creates turnovers. He goes the other way and he can deke, he can score. He just does it all, man. This guy is the future of the Sharks, and Sharks fans should be rejoicing after this pick, and I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be the first one to be overjoyed at the draft party hearing Macklin Celebrini's name. So super excited.
You got any like celebration dances? Anything crazy you're going to be doing there?
I'm going to hit that gritty, boy. We'll go a little Philadelphia gritty. No, just super excited, and we need this. Obviously, he sounds like he's going back to the NCAA next year. Nobody knows that for certain, but just from all like the talk of the town with all of his press conferences, he really just seems like he wants to go back to college for one more year. He thinks he needs to get bigger and stronger, but that's not set in stone yet. He's going to talk to his coaches with Jay Pandolfo and that Boston University coaching staff and see what the next steps are in his future. He's going to also talk to Mike Greer, obviously. He's going to have to talk to his family. So we'll see what he does. But either way, if he comes out this year or next year, I'm going to be excited.
Perfect. Well, next up on the line is what was our 14 is now our 11. We obviously talked about what went into actually moving up and all that. So let's talk about why they made the move in regards to who you think they could be targeting. And I want you to also, I know last podcast we talked about how you thought that right around that 13, 14 is when there was going to be a little bit of a drop off, and that's where the Sharks were at with 14. So I want you to try to like incorporate that into like why it's, even though they might have overpaid, that value so much better because they might have had like a significantly worse player at 14.
Definitely. So I'm going to bring up my 2024 draft rankings, and I'll kind of go along with that. So I'm going to pull this up here. So at number 11, I have Cole Yzerman as the 11th best prospect in this year's draft. It doesn't mean that they'll take Cole Yzerman because this is not my actual draft on where things will, fall. But this is where I think, the best players available are 1 through 32 plus other notables. But Cole Yzerman is sitting there at number 11. So do the Sharks get him? I don't know. I think Cole Yzerman can definitely be a play because he will be the teammate of your Macklin Celebrini at Boston University next year, and in case Macklin goes back to school. But I mean, they've been friends since Shattuck University, where they played together, or not university, Shattuck, I think high school, where they played together. So does Mike Greer go with, a guy that played with Macklin and is probably the best scorer is the best scorer in this year's draft? but he doesn't do much of anything else. He doesn't back check. He doesn't have that 200-foot game like, Macklin does. But what this kid does is he puts the puck in the back of the net. I think he had 57 goals last year. I mean, something incredible. And for the U.S. men's national development team, the kid absolutely has a rifle of a shot. He knows where to be for rebounds. He knows where to get the puck. He knows where the open ice is, and he has a lethal shot, whether it's a one-timer, whether it's, just his wrist shot, slap shot. He has it all. But he doesn't have much of a defensive game, and it worries me, especially on a Sharks team where we need more of that 200-foot game. But I would never say no to a guy that can score that many goals. So anyways, getting back to the question, it's number 11. I can see them taking Cole Yzerman. I can also, so I have Zane Parekh, Zeev Buium, and Sam Dickinson, all 5, 6, and 7 on the draft board here. These 3 defensemen, if one of these guys drops, the Sharks will take them no matter what. Anton Salayev is another defenseman that might drop to number 11. He could get taken earlier, but I would say the Sharks might take Salayev as well. And then number 13, you have Carter Yakimchuk. So that's also probably the most said pick for the Sharks, just because the other ones might be taken before number 11. But look for the Sharks to take Carter Yakimchuk or Cole Yzerman in this year's draft.
Yeah, those are the most likely, you're saying, unless somebody drops.
Correct. So, they're saying that Zane Parekh might drop. I think if anyone drops, it's going to be Sam Dickinson and Anton Salayev. So we're hoping one of those guys can drop to the Sharks, where we get one of those guys, and it would be a steal of a draft for the Sharks. But if they settle with Yzerman or Yakimchuk, I would not be disappointed. So if they take anybody outside of that, maybe like, Beckett Seneca, who I thought they could have got at 14 though. So we'll see what happens in this year's draft, man. It's going to be exciting. There's so this draft is by far one of the most, it's not known what's going to happen from number 2 all the way to 14. So that's what's super exciting, and they're all very skilled, very good players that at the next level, that should be at the next level. So us moving up from 14 to 11 just solidifies us getting that. I thought it was a top 13 draft, and Sharks were at 14. So moving up to 11 gives us that next generational player as well. Well, when I say generational, I'm sorry, that next tier player where, instead of, I think number 1 in Macklin, a lot of people say he's not generational, but I think he's a star in the making. And then anybody from 2 to 11 are tiers 2 and 3, and at 14 would have been a tier 4 player. So, I mean, we're going to get a tier 2 to 3 player instead of a tier 4. So I love the moxie that Greer has to move up. Obviously us giving up a second rounder is a little iffy, but we'll see what happens. I'm excited who the Sharks can take.
Sweet, me too.
So,
sorry, go what's up?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I have other notables for 33, but I was going to hear your question.
Well, that's where I was going, is basically, I don't know if we're best to talk about the second round, or if you want to wait till the first round plays out and then give more analysis like later tonight after the first round of the draft, or...
No, I think we do it now, and then once the draft plays out, I can kind of talk about what happened with that. So I think we just talk about it now. I think it's a good time, real quick, to
Yeah.
go over. So yeah, so just getting.
Yeah. I was just going to prompt you with kind of like, start with what is most similar to what you just did for that number 11 pick. Let's start with like who's most likely going to be there, what you think they'll do, and who are some people at the back end of the first round that you hope would fall.
Yeah, so with the 33 overall selection, meaning the second round, second round pick, the Sharks would probably select Alphonse Frey if we could. He might go a little earlier than that. There's also EJ Emery, who I have at number 28 on my board, who might drop to number 33 overall. Henry Muse could be a pick at 33 as well. All these are defensemen that I'm talking about. And, obviously I think we go best player available, especially if we take a defenseman at number 11. So it kind of gives us an ability to go offense in that selection. But I think that defensive capability at 33, I think there's just a lot of defensemen in that area that are able to be picked at that point. And I just think that the Sharks will probably either go with EJ Emery, Alphonse Frey, or Henry Muse at that spot. So you'll take one of those three defensemen if they're available. If Tilly Stiga drops to 33, I think we should take him. I just love that guy's compete and just ability. But I think sticking with the defenseman at 33, one of those three guys will be the pick. And if not, I think it could also be Aaron Kiviharu. He's one of those guys that are rising up draft boards. He's my number 32 overall. So if he drops to 33, he could be an additional pick. But obviously, when you get to the second round, you're getting to players that have some type of flaw, right? They have something in their game that they did not show good in terms of their draft years. So this past year with their teams, they had some type of flaw, whether it was their defensive game, whether it was like they didn't show enough offense, but there was a flaw somewhere in there. Whereas like early on in the first round, those guys, they have flaws too, but like there's less flaws in those games because they probably had a bunch of points and things of that nature. So yeah, it's kind of like a little breakdown of who I might take and why. But in terms of Alphonse Frey, if he's available, I think he's a no doubt pick. EJ Emery is another good one where he tested super good at the combine, the scouting combine, on like every single test that they had. And that guy's a freak athlete and just a really, strong defenseman. The problem with EJ Emery is he has like really no offensive game to him. So you're really going to have a guy that is kind of like the Marc-Edouard Vlasic in his younger years. And that's what I think a lot of teams would be drafting him for, is that all defense shut down kind of guy who you hope that can, bring some type of offense to the fray.
Now, on that note, is there any of these guys like 25 through 32 that are, let's say, hey, someone only wants like a third or a fourth round pick to move up 4 or 5 spots? Are any of these guys worth moving up in the back end of the first round to get, or you just hope you're better off standing put and seeing who falls to you?
So if you trade the 33 and 53 second round picks, and I think you could get up to like around 25 or so. And a guy like, if Stian Solberg dropped, then I would say, or Igor Chernyshov, if those guys are there, maybe you package those 2 second-round picks and move up into the first round again for Stian Solberg. And that's the only guy that I'd probably, move up to get.
Just curious, what is 33 plus their first third round picks value? What would that move them up to?
Probably like 28, 20. You said third round pick?
Yeah, I'm guessing, are they like the 63rd overall or 65th overall?
Let me bring up the trade value chart real quick. I think that might help us out a little bit here. So let me pull out a calculator. So if the Sharks traded the 33, which is 126.9, and then you said which one? The third round pick?
Whatever their next pick is after that 53. It's probably like the first pick of the third round, which I think is probably like 65.
We traded that. I don't know what our third round. Let me just look real quick. Draft. So we have the third round pick is the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I don't know what number that of. Unfortunately, it doesn't say what number the third round pick is. But let me just do the 2 second round picks. Unfortunately, I don't know what the number of the third round pick is. But 126.9 and plus 54.20. So 180. So that would actually get us, exactly to 25. So I did
get it. It's the other one is the 85th overall pick, just so you know.
Oh, perfect. So if we were just to do 126 plus 85.
Well, it's not 85 isn't the point value. It's just the overall pick. So you got to look up whatever 85 is worth from.
Right. So it's worth 19.
Okay.
So
us up like 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah. So 19 plus 126. So yeah, it's not good enough. 26.
Not even enough to move up 1 spot.
No. So it's 126 plus say 20. So 146. So 146 would be the 30th pick.
Okay, so they can move up 3 spots.
Yeah, but I mean,
might as well just stay put.
Stay put. Get a goalie at that spot is my because right there is right when the first goalie should be taken, and I think that's what the Sharks will do with the.
You're talking about the third round?
No, with the 53rd pick. Instead of trading it, I think you just take the goalie. Or you could take the goalie with 85, but
unless there's some crazy drop of some good player, and you know that there's a guy a few picks ahead that really wants them. Besides a game changer like that, it's better to have like an extra body, especially from a place of need like goalie.
Exactly. So 1, they'll take Macklin Celebrini. At 11, they'll probably take a defenseman. At 33, they'll probably take another defenseman. And then at 53, you take a goalie. And then you hit at that's a great draft right there.
Perfect.
And then at your third round pick, you could take best available, and whatever that comes, you've already taken everybody that you need to take.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like my draft thoughts. And I think that's what would be best for the Sharks. But we'll see what happens, and I'm excited to see. And whatever they do in this draft, they're going to bring in players that are going to be game changers on the front end with number 1 and 11. And then you're going to, at 33 and 53, you're going to get some guys that are going to take a little while to develop, right? So whether you take, a goalie at 53, goalies always take a long time to develop. You're talking 5-6 years sometimes. These guys don't just come up to the NHL right away. So we'll see with the goalie situation if they draft at 53 or 85, and that defenseman at 33, is going to be probably three years down the line where you might see him battling for a position in the NHL. But don't expect that pick at 33 to come into the Sharks right away.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, one other question I have is, like, it seems like they're going to take at least 1 or 2 defensemen over these first few picks. Like, and then earlier when they traded away a defenseman, you said they had too many defensemen. Is it almost like they have too many fourth line style defenseman players, and they need to be more top heavy with like premier defenseman talent?
You hit the nail on the head right there. So the Sharks have, there's only 3 lines of defensemen, but like what you're saying, it's like I get what
a bunch of people that would be almost
bottom
like
line
minor leaguers or bottom line defensemen. It's like, why you have a bunch of guys that are there and you're trying to move up these crappy defensemen on your first and second line versus like get rid of the back end guys and invest heavy on the draft on top end guys.
Look at you learning already. You're a Sharks guy.
Paul Greer, I'm coming for his job.
Oh shoot. Hey Greer, there you go. We got some competition right here. So exactly. I would say that we have too many third deep pairing defensemen who we can interchange a bunch of names, but we have like now 8 of those guys and there's only 6 spots, right? So we already have an abundance of them. So we bring in these young players to develop them. Luca Cagnoni's coming up. He's going to be probably a top 4 guy, deep pairing guy. So we got guys coming in the pipeline. Mukhamadullin is another who's probably going to be playing this year. At some point, if he makes the team or not, he will be up with the team at some point, and he's a top 4 defenseman as well. So we got guys coming in the pipeline, and I'm super excited. And whether we take another defenseman at 11 and 33, they're just going to make that crop better, that pipeline better. And we already got a bevy of forwards. So, taking some defensemen, at 11 and 14, 11 and 33 does seem like the right play. But don't expect. All right. I would say that they could go Cole Yzerman there, but we'll see. I do think it's going to be a defenseman, but I wouldn't sleep on Yzerman being a pick there as well. Just with the connection of Macklin and him being at and Cole Yzerman being at Shattuck and maybe playing on Boston University together.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think wraps it up for a pre-draft little preview. I know that I will probably be coming to Sharks fans with a post first round draft, and my analysis, and then obviously I'll have a second round analysis tomorrow. I would say tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to what's going to be happening. If anybody's at the Shark Tank and you guys see me, please say hello. I look forward to talking to each and every one of you about what happens at the draft.
So if the Sharks fans say hello to you, are you going to just scream at them? Hello, Shark
Hello!
fans!
I won't scream at you, but I'll be excited. I know that.
Hell yeah. Right on. Well,
Appreciate it.
let's go Sharks. Let's pick some winners today. Can't wait for that first overall pick goalie.
Super exciting, man. Well, I'll probably be out and about, and I look forward to the draft. And we'll see you guys probably mañana.
This might be the last time I get to wear this jersey while he's on the team still.
I know.
Let's go, Clay. Let's go.
So where's Clay Thompson gonna go, man?
I don't know. We'll see. I
know. I don't know. It's looking bleak. Looks like he's gonna be joining a new team just from the sounds of it. We don't know, but it sounds like it.
We'll see.
Maybe an end of an era. I don't know.
Time will tell.
Yeah. We actually have a bit of news. I want to break it to you guys. Brian is on here. He does know the Sharks a little bit, but he comes from Bay Area ties. Obviously, he's repping the Golden State Warriors, and I just thought it would be fun to have my fans not only listen to Sharks content, but every once in a while, Bay Area news would be kind of fun, I think. And I always wanted to tie in some other sports teams. Obviously, this is going to be a Sharks podcast, but I think bringing in that Bay Area tie, me and Brian know a lot about, the Warriors, the Giants, the 49ers. So I thought that it would be really cool that we do, maybe bring the Shark stuff to light, but also have kind of a Bay Area wrap up kind of thing as well for all of our listeners. So I want to hear your guys' comments in the comment section if that's something that you guys want to see. But I think that's what we're going to be doing. So
we'll save it for the end, so all the non Bay Area sports fans can tune out or whatever.
Exactly.
95% Sharks with a little Bay Area sports twist at the end.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really, really fun thing. Obviously, this was just a teaser, and we didn't get into much about the Warriors and Klay Thompson too much. But that could be a topic for later on. And obviously, we just had the NBA draft happen, and the Warriors got a center in the draft, and we also got a player in Waters. So not sure about how to take those moves, but interesting moves to say the least. But anyways, I think that's it for this Sharks draft party segment. I'll come to you guys tomorrow with, or maybe even tonight after the draft party. I might come on briefly and kind of give you my takes, but probably just be myself on that one. We might bring Brian in tomorrow and then do a draft recap day 1, 2. I don't know what his schedule's like, but if we don't have Brian's presence, then I'll be doing it solo bolo.
Rock and roll.
Appreciate you being on.
Yep. Y'all know what to do. Like and subscribe.
Let's go. Peace.
Peace.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Yep.